Good morning, dear students. Today, let us learn the functions of the spinal cord. The spinal cord do mainly three functions that are first one is reflexes. It is controlling the reflexes below the neck. Reflex action you might have learned in your 7th standard or in the previous class you might have learned. Reflex action meaning sudden quick involuntary actions at the time of emergency without thinking about it. It is controlled by the usually it is controlled by the spinal cord. For example, if we happen to touch a hot iron, we may withdraw our hand without thinking. Even thinking, before thinking we can withdraw our hand. Such actions are done or controlled by the spinal cord. That stimulation of the heat may not reach up to the brain. Just when it reaches the spinal cord control the motor nerve and we can withdraw our hand. Such emergency situations, such reflex actions are controlled by the spinal cord. Then again, the spinal cord, it is controlling the sensory impulses from the, it is conduct the sensory impulses from the muscle to the brain, and from the brain certain responses to the muscles are also go through the spinal cord. You know that all the nerves that is from the our hand, legs or other parts of the body are traveling through the spinal cord. It is conducting these impulses to and from the brain. That function is also done by the spinal cord. Then again you can see our peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system meaning that nerves that is emerging from the uh, uh, central nervous system. Central nervous system is brain and spinal cord. From the brain and spinal cord, the nerves that are emerging from it and that is entering to it, that include the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system has two parts, that are the somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system meaning the nerves that are controlling, that we can control according to our will. That is usually the attached to the skeleton. Some of the muscles that in our tongue, such muscles or around the eyelids, that muscles are uh, not attached to the skeleton, but it is also the nerves, the muscles that we can control according to our will with the help of this skeletal nervous system. That nerves are controlling the muscles that we can move according to our will. That is the somatic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system meaning certain movement of our body is not controlled by us. For example, the heartbeat. We cannot control ourselves, our heartbeat. Such functions, the involuntary actions are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Then somatic nervous system consists of two sets of nerve, that are the cranial nerve and the spinal nerve. The cranial nerve meaning the nerves, cranium meaning the brain box. From the brain, 12 pairs of nerves are emerging out. That are the cranial nerve. Spinal nerve meaning the nerves that is emerging from the spinal cord. That is the spinal nerve. Then we can see the cranial nerve, 12 pairs are there. Some of it as we can call it as olfactory nerves that help us to get the smell or towards the nose. Then optic nerve, that is from the eyes. Optic meaning light. Optic nerve controlling the eye. Auditory meaning related to hearing. All these are cranial nerve. We know that eyes, nose, ears, that are the part of the head. So it is close to the brain. So brain directly controlling this part. Then again the spinal nerve. Spinal nerves are 31 pairs of nerves are there. Then each of the spinal cord is a mixed nerve. Mixed nerve, you know that is carrying impulses to the brain, and the motor nerve that is emerging from the brain, that is the mixed nerve. All the spinal nerves are the mixed nerve. Because in the here you can see it is a mixed nerve. Spinal nerve, here sensory and motor nerves are going through the same nerve, but at the time when it enter the spinal cord, we can see the sensory nerve enter through the dorsal root region. You can see a dorsal root. The sensory nerve separate at a junction, then it is entering into the spinal cord through the dorsal root. Dorsal root meaning the dorsal region of the body. This dorsal part make the dorsal part of the body, and the ventral root meaning the ventral, through the ventral root that motor neuron is emerging out. That is how a spinal cord, because it is a mixed nerve. Sometimes question will have their right examples of a mixed nerve. Here the spinal nerve is an example of mixed nerve. Then again we can see that these are the autonomic. Then we have to learn about the autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system meaning that is not according to that we cannot move it according to our will. Usually this is stimulated by a particular hormone known as adrenaline. Adrenal gland is present above the kidney like a cap. If you see the picture of the kidney, you can see the position of the adrenal gland. It is secreting its hormone into the blood. That adrenaline is its hormone. Then when it is secrete, it can stimulate our body so that the autonomic nervous system will function. Autonomic nervous system meaning a pair of ganglia that is lying on either side of the spinal cord. Its position you can see. Ganglia meaning accumulation of nerve cell. A group of nerve cell is the ganglia. Here you can see the autonomic nervous system. It has two parts that are sympathetic and parasympathetic part it has. Sympathetic nervous system, its position, its ganglia, its position is below the neck, and in the left side you can see the ganglia of sympathetic nervous system, that is below the neck and above the waist regions. Its ganglia are present. Ganglia meaning group of nerve cell, and it is controlling certain organs. You can see the pupil here, which are the functions done by the sympathetic nervous system at the time of emergency. You can see the pupil dilate at the time of accidents or at certain in the dim light, etc. The pupil meaning the inside part, not the eyelids. We cannot, that is the inside part of the eye. You will learn it again in detail in the next sensory organ chapter. You will learn that is one of the inside part, inside muscle that is allowing the light into the retina. That is the pupil, that region, not the eyelids, that will dilate at the time of emergency or in certain situation. Then salivation decreases. You know that if any accident or in case of fear, you might have observed your mouth may dry up. നമ്മുടെ വായിലെ വെള്ളമൊക്കെ പറ്റിയതുപോലെ എന്തെങ്കിലും സ്റ്റേജ് ഫിയറിൻ്റെ സമയത്ത് അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് ഫീൽ ചെയ്യാം. ദ സലൈവേഷൻ വിൽ ഡിക്രീസസ് at that time of emergency situation. Then the heart rate increases. At the time of emergency or any accident, our heartbeat will rise because we need more energy for getting more oxygen, for getting more glucose to our body parts like the muscles of the body. The heart rate will increase at the time of emergency. Then bronchi dilate. Bronchi meaning the air passages that will dilate, meaning increase its diameter. That is, the bronchi will dilate so that we will take more oxygen at the time of emergency in any accident case or in any emergency. Our breathing rate will increase. That are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Then again, the gastric and pancreatic activity inhibited. Uh, that our food will not digest at that time. All the energy will be diverted to the muscle. So our stomach will, for some time, that may get stopped at, at any time of emergency situation. Our digestive functions will stop. Then glycogen converted into glucose in liver. Sometimes glucose already we consumed before, that may be stored as glycogen, that may be suddenly converted into glucose in the liver to provide more energy at the situation. Then again, release of adrenaline and noradrenaline. Adrenaline is to face the emergency situation. Noradrenaline, that is bringing down, that is the parasympathetic system is stimulated by the noradrenaline. Then peristalsis inhibited. Peristalsis meaning the movement in the stomach to push the food forward. That function is also stopped for some time. Then bladder relaxes. Sometimes at the time of emergency or in such a situation, we may feel to urinate. Sometimes you may feel when we start for a journey, some people, they feel to urinate before starting the journey, or such that are controlled by this autonomic nervous system, especially the sympathetic nervous system. When we are in an emergency situations, all these functions of the body is controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. Then again you can see the parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system, it is bringing the body into the previous condition or in a relaxed mode. After the functioning of the sympathetic nervous system, after the emergency situation, our heart rate must bring down, that so that the heart rate decreases. Then salivation again starting, the pupil constrict. After meeting the emergency situation, the opposite functions are done by the parasympathetic nervous system.